You may have noticed this past Friday, October 18th, 2019, that Critical Role released the beginning of a new series they're doing, which is called UnDeadwood. It's centered around the town of Deadwood. It's this sort of modified version of the Wild West, and this is a cool game. They've done a Deadwood game in the past. This one was produced and directed by Brian W. Foster, and it's pretty slick. I watched the first 20 or 30 minutes or so of it, and I'm really enjoying it. And it raised a great question for me today, and it made me wonder, how do you like your actual play games? This game is amazing. I mean, I'm really enjoying everything Critical Role is doing. They're constantly raising the bar. They're constantly putting out better stuff, and that's amazing. That's as it should be. I mean, all creators are essentially, hopefully, trying to do the same thing. I know for sure I am doing that, and I respect others that are on that path. So, in the vlog today, I really wanted to think about and sort of take a moment to look at and maybe contrast, compare, and just explore some different styles and maybe get some feedback from you and what you like in your actual play games. Now, there's a couple of different styles out there, right? So we have like at the top tier, we have games like Critical Role. Now, Critical Role itself, like right now we're watching the Mighty Nine, that's the show that they're doing weekly and so forth. This is an actual play game where they are speaking in character during the vast majority of gameplay. They do have some, questions come up, of course, and things like that. They joke around because they're all good friends. But generally speaking, Matt Mercer wants to keep this sort of focused and on track, and he does a really good job of like wrangling all the players and keeping them moving the plot forward and so forth. And there's lots of it's like heavy RP, right? These are professional voice actors, so it's easy for them. They're trained to do this, plus they all enjoy really heavily speaking in and playing the game in character. Now, I want to contrast that with a game. I've done this before, and I kind of want to come back to this because I think it's really important. Another Matthew Colville, has started the game on his MCDM Productions. They are doing games that are, well, first of all, they're playing different games, not just Dungeons and Dragons, and I mean like board game kind of stuff. They're filling in as they sort of take a break from the main plot. But the main plot is the Chain of Acheron. And with the Chain of Acheron, what we're getting to see in their words, in Matt Colville's words basically, is an actual play game that's really just a bunch of friends sitting at a table playing D&D. Like what it's really like at most tables, right? And I think he's probably right. In fact, I know for sure their game is way closer to most of the games that I've played. And that is to say, kind of combat heavy in the sense of like they just about every session are going to have combat, and they all like the tactics of the combat. Maybe some more than others, but for sure, Matt Colville definitely likes the tactical elements of the combat, which is really cool, and it plays out very nicely. That's why they actually have two different streams going simultaneously. You can watch their regular, like, let's call it face cam stream, and you can also watch a tactical stream where they're literally just showing you, like, the battle mat and the miniatures and that kind of thing from a couple different angles. So that's pretty amazing, right? And they do have some great players that really get into the role-playing, although not all of them do, which is kind of cool. You get to see some different styles of play at the table. They're also running a very like political intrigue game. There's a lot of moving pieces behind the scenes that play into the story and what is developing through the game. So those are sort of the two examples within the genre, but there's lots of others. I've recently been following a couple of different ones. I've told you all about Not Quite Heroes. Absolutely love their game. Their game is a podcast, right? So it's not something we get to watch. It's something we're strictly listening to. So it has a slightly different format. There's more editing involved, and a lot of the, let's call it the intermittent gameplay is taken out, so that we get this nice, tight, beautiful, fun, entertaining, and engaging storyline, right? The storyline is kind of taking the forefront of the game. We get interesting interplay between the characters and the NPCs, and we get a lot of role playing and wonderful character development and so forth. They do talk a little bit about some of the mechanical things going on in the game, but mostly it's just the pure storyline, which I love. There's other games that do that as well, but of course these are games, so like the die rolls are important. We kind of want to know, like, did you hit, did you miss, what did you roll, that sort of thing, what's your armor class and so forth. So I see a lot of that in other games as well, and that's important to me too. So I'm seeing a very interesting trend though. And this is why I wanted to bring this up. With a game like Deadwood, and it's not the only one. With a game like UnDeadwood. This game is, like I said, it's very highly produced. Everyone is in character from, pretty much the whole game, right? They are talking a little bit about like what they're doing, what their character says, where they go, that sort of thing. But then they speak in character. And even Brian W. Foster, who is running the game, he's doing some of the sort of, exposition to explain what's happening, but then he's also speaking in character directly to the players, which is really cool. But again, they're all dressed up. They're kind of on a little bit of a set, and it definitely has a tone and a feel that they're going for. And I like it a lot. Like I said, it's very entertaining. But I see a trend. I see other games. I see other game groups. I like to just peek at other game groups. There's not a lot that I follow, but like even Acquisitions Incorporated, right? Acquisitions Incorporated, which doesn't play, well, okay, the C team plays pretty regular. They're playing like a weekly game. But like the bigger, like the actual like PAX West and PAX East and the big shows, PAX Unplugged and all this, those games, the players have started dressing up, doing the cosplay, and it's a big production. It's pretty amazing, right? So there's been this interesting trend over the last few years where I see more and more actual play, let's call them live streams, are dressing up in character. They're putting on a show and speaking in character and doing tons of role play. That's one trend I see. That being said, there are still plenty of games where it's just a bunch of friends that are playing the game, and we see the game as it plays out as if we were at the table with them. It just feels, on some level, it feels a little more organic, let's say. So which do you like? I mean, which do you like? I don't know that I have a preference. I like them both for different reasons. I like to see the actual gameplay. I like to see the sort of joking and laughing and stuff between the players, right? And some of that is missed in the highly edited games. The one that Deborah Ann Wall did was phenomenal. Relics and Rarities, phenomenal. I loved it. I've talked about it in a little ways back. I've talked about it a handful of times on some of the vlogs, and that was really amazing and very different than most games I've seen. The way she conducts the game, the way she runs the game as a dungeon master is really awesome and a little bit different than what I've seen before. And it was a very well-produced show. But again, it was produced. It was edited. They put in sound effects. They cut scenes and they clipped things together and made it very interesting and entertaining. But it's not like that. It's not the full show of just the raw game. So these Twitch games the Twitch games that we get to see, or YouTube or whatever, the live actual play games have more of that. On a certain level, I feel like I like that more. Might not be as entertaining, but it feels like I'm at the table more. Whereas when I see something like UnDeadwood, like Relics and Rarities, these games feel more like I'm watching a show. Still entertaining, still interesting, still the games we love. But is that where this hobby is going? It makes me wonder. I don't think so. I think there's always going to be both ends of the spectrum. I think that lots of people love what Critical Role is doing and love that style of play, so it's easy to get into that style of play. And there's always this. There have been LARPs, which, if you don't know what that is, that's live action role playing. LARPs have been around for quite a long time. And so some people love that element of like fully immersing themselves in the game. And I kind of feel like games like this, UnDeadwood by Critical Role and others, have that element to them, where it's meant to be like this full immersion from the players, which is kind of fun and kind of cool. So as I move forward with this channel, I'm curious, and I'd like to know more about what you actually prefer. What, if any, shows you watch and why you watch them. Is it because you just enjoy the players? Is it because there is some kind of production value? Is it because there's comedy involved? Or is it because it just, again, like I've said, feels like you're sitting at the table with the players and the Dungeon Master? What do you think, and what do you prefer? I'm looking forward to your answers in the comments on this video. I'll see you tomorrow, and remember, it's your game. Play your way.